Hello and welcome back to Simon's Trading Channel. Happy Saturday to you, start of your weekend, and I hope it started well. Saturday means that last night, after I think it was after I recorded my video, CME will have closed its weekly candle, and as you can see from this number here, it did so at 67,500, which looks good. That's a very bullish candle, having bounced off. This support resistance area, which indeed makes this look very much like a low, and a weekly low in the context of this consolidation period. Now, true resolution of that will occur with a weekly closure back above sort of 73,000, and you would expect then for a more significant move, probably up into the 80s. Not there yet. And I do wonder if Bitcoin's going to take a bit of time to think about breaking out until it indeed does so. But, that's just hearsay. That's in the future. We'll see what happens. The price action will indeed tell us. Now, there was this gap which I referred to a little while ago. You can see more, you can see it there on the weekly, but to discuss it in a bit more detail. So it shows up a bit better on the weekly. Now on the daily, on CME. Now CME is not trading and it won't start trading until Sunday evening. But the gap is here, right? And it's basically below 61,000. I would be so bold as to suggest that if CME can close probably another daily above where it is now, then that would suggest to me that that gap may not get filled, or at least on the CME chart, Bitcoin will attempt to secure itself within the low 70s first, as in there'll be continuation of this upward daily trend first. Now, I might be wrong, but that does suggest, that's what this daily closure suggests to me. But it is hovering around this support resistance area. You can see here, there's resistance, then support, and it's right on it now, which is why I said another daily closure above here would look good for then a move somewhere towards the lower $70,000 regions. Where I'm sure it will hit some resistance, and then we'll see what happens. But I think filling this gap, say next week, has become less likely. That's kind of what it boils down to, in my humble opinion. All right, so for the rest of the price action analysis, going to switch over to Bybit, and you can see here I had that range on the range of doom, which hasn't really been the range for some time, but I put it back on now because the price is back within it. So it's more of a historical range. Also, you can see the midpoint corresponds to this support resistance area that I was talking about on CME. And I'm not going to draw anything else on this chart because it just gets a bit cluttered and a bit confusing. And the last thing you need in your life when you're doing trading and investing is confusion. Actually, you want something simple, and that's certainly what I want. And with a name like Simon, you've got to keep it simple, right? So I would suggest the support resistance top bracket, if you like, or the top of the support resistance zone. I would suggest it's probably around sort of 68, around 68, and the bottom is probably around sort of 67. So Bitcoin's right in that support resistance zone at the moment, and a few more daily closures above it would look great. It probably is getting a bit of resistance there. And if we switch down to the 4 hour, you can see that it's doing a bit of a consolidation. And and that could go on for a bit longer. If I bring up some momentum to help me gauge the strength of the moves, etc. For some reason my MACD has disappeared, but I can very quickly pop it back on the chart. Thus, I won't take the moving average off for now, but you can still see that, or you can see that the 4 hour momentum is still to the upside. It's miles away from the zero line, which would suggest to me that it's unlikely to turn down anytime soon. There will be, interestingly, potentially some MACD divergence occurring here on the 4 hour only, right? So it depends. You can only say that. So what I'm referring to there, I'm sure you can all see it, but I'll just make it plain and simple, is this high here corresponds to this high here on the MACD. Now, wherever this becomes a high, and to be a high, clearly it needs to pull back first. So if it pulled back from where it is, this would then become a high, right? And I would suggest that it would need to pull back and probably start closing back below 63,350, just this area. That would definitely confirm this as a high. And if the MACD stays where it is, then there would be a bearish divergence. There would be regular bearish divergence on the MACD. Now, that's contingent upon Bitcoin, in my opinion, getting back down below sort of 63-ish. And, and then we'll see what happens. Now, it might be that Bitcoin doesn't actually sort of confirm a local high here, and it just kind of grinds on to the upside, and then we'll see what happens with the MACD. But there is definitely a potential for, I would say, 4 hour MACD divergence. So let's get rid of all those scribblings. Now that, on the daily momentum, you can see it's moving significantly above the zero line now, and it's going to continue rising above 62.8. Well, that to me makes sense from a numbers point of view with regards to potentially a pullback, and a pullback that stays above that sort of 62 region, could bring it back down anywhere to here. Now, that could well happen. I think if Bitcoin does start to move higher from this current area, it makes sense, right? If it goes up, it's unlikely to come down. Well, it's obvious. But I guess what I'm trying to do is paint things in a more logical sort of likelihood basis. And so momentum will keep rising above basically 63. And you can see that it's around the support resistance level at the moment. And so if that indeed did prove to be resistance and Bitcoin pulls back, what you wouldn't want to see then would be daily closures back below kind of this area, because that would switch the momentum on the daily back to the downside. Now, it doesn't mean that then it's all doom and gloom. It just means that there's probably more downside before more upside in that case. I hope that makes sense. It wasn't too confusing. But I would say that, momentum to the upside on potentially most of the lower time frames. And indeed, that to me would suggest that it's likely for more upside before the next pullback. But I would be aware that the momentum for this move on the 4 hour is probably declining. And you can see that from the MACD. So I'm still bullish as ever on Bitcoin, and the longer this upside move continues, the more this looks like a macro low. And then, as I said in the last video, the longer the Bitcoin can hang out up in this top half of the range, the more likely it is for the bigger overall move to, which will play out in the higher time frames like the weekly, to be to the upside and probably produce some all-time highs. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, remember to like and subscribe and share as well. I keep forgetting, share it with all your friends and family and colleagues and all the people you like who might be interested in this kind of stuff. And yeah, come back tomorrow because I'll be doing it for Sunday, and that'll be close to Bybit's closure. So it'll be interesting to see if it catches up to where CME closed. All right, take care, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.